of quality football is behind us. Hello, GFC fans. My name is Rick, reporting on the latest action in German football. The top teams spoil us with content by delivering quite different performances between the Champions League and the Bundesliga. We also have some coaching changes to announce, and some more exciting stadium plans, and a few clubs sliding deeper into trouble. To discuss all of that, also here today with me, Alex Heidelberger. What's up?
Hey, what's up, everyone? Hello and welcome back to GFC. Yeah, as always, we've got a lot of stuff to discuss after a long week of not only top-class Bundesliga football, but also the Champions League, Europa League, and Conference League are all in full swing with a lot of participation from the German clubs. So I say, let's dive right into it.
Yeah, folks, what a week we have behind us. Bayern, Dortmund, Leverkusen, Leipzig, Stuttgart all played their games in the Champions League, and then Frankfurt had a Europa League appearance on Thursday. So had Heidenheim with its first Europa Conference League match, and Hoffenheim. So we had 8 German clubs in action during the week in international matchups. And then all of them kind of had quite different performances in the league, Alex. What did you think about last week and some of the results that we've...
Yeah, as you said, I mean, the differences couldn't be bigger. First of all, even on the European stage, the results were quite different from one another. We saw, obviously, first and foremost, Bayern Munich losing a group stage game after I don't know how many years it was, like at least many games. I remember the last defeat in the first round of the Champions League was against PSG. The coach back then at PSG's side was Unai Emery, French coach. And funny enough, last week's defeat against Aston Villa, a club from the Premier League, was also coached by Unai Emery, and I believe Unai Emery was also the coach at Villarreal when Bayern lost, to everybody's surprise. There, I believe it was a quarterfinal match against Villarreal back then. So right. First defeat of the season for Kompany and his Bayern side. A couple days later, they played another unbelievable game. They were played in Frankfurt. The game ended 3-3. Bayern Munich was pressuring a lot, created a lot of chances. Frankfurt, very, very efficient. 3 goals out of just 5 or 6 really clear chances. Omar Mamouche, one of my favorite players of the Bundesliga this year, and probably not only mine, but many other people's favorite as well. He scored a brace and is now leading the score sheet in the Bundesliga, I believe, with 6 goals. So very interesting. 3 games without a win for Bayern Munich. Is this Vincent Kompany's first crisis? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, they were very dominant in those games, right? So it's hard to say that this is a crisis. It's definitely, if you just look at the results, it's a setback and not what they expected, and it certainly keeps things very tight on the table and exciting to watch. What I'm more concerned about with this Bayern dominance, those might, looking at the Bundesliga specifically, those might some of the only few points that they will leave on the table for everyone else, right? And nobody reacted to it, right? If you go deeper down on the chart that we have here, you see Dortmund's impressive win over Celtic in the Champions League on Tuesday. But then they got defeated 2-1 in Berlin. So they left another 3 points on the table in the Bundesliga. So, it's like the same old scenario for me. You have a very dominant Bayern. But then, some teams play very well against them tactically, like Leverkusen last week and Frankfurt this week. Really made the best out of that little possession they had. But others are not able to step up, such as Dortmund, Also Leverkusen, who also won their Champions League game against AC Milan and then had a poor performance at home against Kiel after 2-0 lead.
Yeah, you
It ended
can't
up
give that
2-2.
game away.
Yeah, but that's more my concern.
Yeah, true. Literally the only big club, so to speak, who used that opportunity to collect a couple of points was Red Bull Leipzig. They played a Champions League match at home versus Juventus Turin. They were also leading the score sheet twice and ended up with a 2-3 goal defeat. But at least they won their game in Heidenheim, I believe. Only 1-0, so it was really, job done and go back home. But yeah, everybody else, and Stuttgart could be another one of those candidates. They've been struggling to back the 3 points game after game already, and now again they played against Hoffenheim, home game, sold out stadium with over 60,000, and they needed literally a last minute penalty to score the equalizer, and Demirovic, he even needed a second attempt. Basically, he missed the penalty, and then luckily the ball kind of bounced back to him and he was able to equalize. But yeah, it's just not enough, and that way you're not going to hurt Bayern in the long run. You're right.
Yeah. But Stuttgart so far also still very good to watch, right? Just if you look at the results, you can say, okay, they have a little bit of a crisis. They don't back enough points. Except that Hoffenheim game where, the result really lined up with the performance. Stuttgart didn't really find any ways through that tight defense that Hoffenheim was playing there. A lot of playing around the box, ineffective crosses into the box. Easy for Hoffenheim to defend. So that's the first time where I was really also concerned about the way Stuttgart was playing. But yeah, I'm still hopeful that they can find their form. I'm also hopeful for Leverkusen that they can find their form again. Otherwise, again, I think it's gonna get lonely around Bayern, and they will just greet us from the top week after week.
Yeah, true. In fact, the silent winner of the match day was actually SC Freiburg. They're now ranking 4th, only 2 points behind Bayern and Leipzig, who are sharing the top spot. And Union Berlin as well. As we said, they bagged 3 points against Dortmund at home. They're now in the 6th spot, which is a direct qualification for the Europa League. Staying level with Leverkusen with 11 points and only 1 point ahead of Dortmund. So yeah, while all of the teams kind of left points behind or left them on the table, basically, it's still a very close call. I mean, the league is still, it's early in the season, I know, but nonetheless, it's still a very competitive and close competition up there.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be a tight race for those European places in the table, as we've mentioned in many episodes before. After 6 game days, we kind of can do a first form check, and it really looks like Union is a contender again for the Europa League this year. Freiburg will be up there. So it's a very tight field, and just for that reason, not even, competing for the championship, but Dortmund and Leverkusen both should be worried about their Champions League spots. The overall top team density is a lot tighter this season, so they need to deliver results. And if you listen to some of the conversations and disputes that are going on in Dortmund after this recent defeat in Berlin, then we can look forward to a lot more content, to a lot more topics, and I think it's going to get nice and cozy around Nuri Sahin if he has another game or two that he loses in that way, in that fashion. So I wouldn't be surprised if we see some bigger changes in Dortmund happening based on that.
Yeah. Really, the only consistency in Dortmund is the inconsistent performances.
Right.
All right.
A little bit
But
about
yes,
Heidenheim, maybe too, Alex. Huh? We should acknowledge that they won their first Europa Conference League match against Olympia Ljubljana. You mentioned they got
correct.
defeated against Leipzig, but what a big day for Heidenheim. First international experience, and then taking that home win. So good
Yeah,
job.
definitely. Congratulations. It's a big deal given the size of the club, what they have to work with. It's just not comparable to a big chunk of the Bundesliga teams, and we have to honor their hard work over the years. It's absolutely, really incredible what they've built in Heidenheim, and again this season, despite the international games on top of the Bundesliga matches week after week, they seem to be doing okay. They've done, I believe, solid business as well this summer by selling Jan-Niklas Beste to Benfica Lissabon, and nonetheless managed to put a proper team together. So kudos Heidenheim, really good work there.
Yep. And to just round this field of international contenders up real quick, we mentioned that Hoffenheim played as well. They had the 1-1 against Stuttgart. Before that, they won their Europa League match against Dynamo Kiev at home with 2-0, giving the coach Pellegrini Matarazzo a little bit more breathing room. So the club announced that they're going to keep working with him for now. So that's the news from Hoffenheim. Yeah, and then we also had a stadium plan revealed this week. The new Alte Försterei was showed to the public. It's a stadium that will have a capacity of 40,500 spectators. What will be really special about this is that 32,500 will be standing capacity and only 8,000 will be seats, including a new business lounge. And for that reason, Union will play the 26-27 campaign in the Olympic Stadium in Berlin. But yeah, very unique concept. And Alex, we talked a lot about stadium and characters. It really looks like the Alte Försterei, despite of this change, this capacity expansion, will keep its character. So I really like it. And on top of that, Union offers its members a piece of stadium ownership. So very nice gesture, and again shows the community aspect of the German football.
Yeah, very unique, and you're absolutely right about that. With that new stadium, first of all, the number of standing capacity, or the amount of stands, is really remarkable. In fact, this is going to make the Alte Försterei the stadium in Germany with the most standing capacity, even more than in Dortmund, despite their big south stand with over 25,000 fans. So it's really a big deal for Union, and it make Union the big city club there in Berlin. And I'm sure the Hertha supporters are not happy about the fact that Union supporters are going to spend an entire season in their Olympic Stadium. So yes, but judging by the results of the past couple of Bundesliga campaigns, they are currently the number one in Berlin.
Absolutely. And that's a good bridge over to Bundesliga too, since Hertha is represented there and also had a good game this weekend. But step by step, Alex, why don't you run us through the game day here? I think it was game day number 8 in Bundesliga 2. Yes,
exactly.
And give us an overview what happened there.
Yeah, as you know, I'm a huge fan of Bundesliga 2. It's just such a competitive and attractive league. There are currently only 2 points difference between the top of the table, which is still Düsseldorf, even though they lost their home game, in fact, against Hamburg with 3-0. Despite massive pressure from Düsseldorf, especially during the second half, where they were very close to the equalizer. but Hamburg, to everybody's surprise, kind of took the 3 points away from Düsseldorf. They managed to climb up the ladder a little bit. They're now in the 5th spot of the table. Again, only 2 points behind Düsseldorf, so very, very close to the top. There are a couple of teams up there who are currently competing, for the top spot. Karlsruhe is another one of them. We've spoken about them quite often. They also looking back to a wild match day opener on Friday night in their match against Darmstadt that ended 3-3 on aggregate. We've spoken about Nuremberg with their coach Miroslav Klose. They finally won one of their games at home, 3-2 against Münster. It was a big effort, but at least the result gives their coach Miroslav Klose a little more room to breathe. Many of us, I think we also discussed him here in this podcast. We've already kind of seen him out of the job after the poor performances or the poor start into the season. And then, of course, looking back at the derby in Lower Saxony between Braunschweig and Hanover, that ended 2-0 for Braunschweig. I'm not going to go into too much detail here because I believe we cover that fixture a little later on in the podcast as well. And then coming to our Saturday night top game, Schalke versus Hertha Berlin, a game that ended 2-2 on aggregate. And maybe the special news here is that Schalke appointed a new head coach. His name is Kees van Wonderen, a Dutch gentleman. He actually was there on Saturday night. He attended the home game against Hertha Berlin. Interestingly, without the players knowing that he was there and that he was going to be the new head coach. In fact, his appointment was officially released to the public by the club only on the following day. So maybe just a couple of things about who is Kees van Wonderen. He's an experienced guy, so he should know what he's getting himself into by taking on the job at Schalke. His previous clubs in the Dutch First Liga, the Eredivisie, include SC Heerenveen. That was also his most recent club. Spent 76 games there with a point per game average of 1.25. And a club that I have actually never heard of, the Go Ahead Eagles, where he
sounds like an American football team.
Yeah, it must be one of those new clubs that they kind of invented out of the blue. No idea. He spent 79 games there with a slightly higher point per game average of 1.66. Before that, he was also the assistant coach of the Dutch national team, where he worked for about a year and a half, and then
under
other
Coleman,
appointments.
Right? Yeah.
Other appointments include the Dutch youth national teams, and prior to that, various roles at Twente Enschede, including the manager position.
Right, but you can definitely say not a big name and very unexpected transfer or addition here to Hertha Berlin to Schalke as a coach. So the only thing that I was able to find out is, and you might remember him, Alex, Juri Mölders from the Schalke Eurofighters team in 1996, 1997, when they won the UEFA Cup, now Europa League. He is still in the in the board for Schalke, and apparently he know Van Wonderen, and it was his recommendation. That's the only thing I was able to find out about how Kees van Wonderen got to Schalke, but we will see if he can turn it around. I mean, you should give every new coach a chance, right? But certainly not a big name, or not the big name that you would expect to take over Schalke 04.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, we've talked about this before. Every coach with a decent track record knows what they're getting themselves into. by accepting a role at Schalke. It's just such a difficult job. So
Right.
yeah, well, anyway, wishing him best of luck.
Yeah, and he definitely has some time to get his team tuned in for the next match day, because we're taking a break. Bundesliga 1 and Bundesliga 2 are taking a break because the national teams are on again, which also means, part of the weekly update here is the squad that Julian Nagelsmann nominated for the upcoming Nations League games against Bosnia and the Netherlands. So yeah, let's discuss that. There are definitely some surprising nominations, Alex. We will have Jamie Leveling from Stuttgart joining new and for the first time. He is coming in for Jamal Musiala, since he got injured in the last game. We have Tim Kleindienst, forward from Gladbach, former Heidenheim last season, making his debut. And he's taken over Niklas Füllkrug's spot, who is still injured and didn't really play a game for West Ham yet. Kevin Schade also playing in England right now. And Robin Gosens, who transferred, as we know, last minute from Union Berlin to Florence. And then Serge Gnabry is back in the squad as well after a long absence. He had an injury prior to the European Championship, and then he really wasn't performing that well last season, but definitely under Vincent Kompany, his performance improved. He is a clear starter for Bayern right now, and hence Nagelsmann took him back into the team for this nomination.
Yeah, and he's just such a talented player. I always thought Gnabry is not, or has not always made the most out of his potential. And he's close to 30, this should be his prime years. So I really hope that with him being back on track, a regular starter at Bayern, and now also back in the squad, the national team, that he's going to, become the outstanding. He's one of those players who can really make a difference. And that's kind of what I expect him to deliver, and I hope he can keep that form until the next tournament.
Yeah, it's just so crowded around those positions, right? Because Gnabry plays a similar role than a Musiala or a Havertz. Not a Havertz, sorry, a Musiala or a Wirtz. You just have a lot of talent up there, right? And at Bayern, Musiala usually plays the number 10 position. On the national team, he was already put on the winger position, because we have other options such as Havertz or Undav there. So in the offense again, you're full of options. You can really rotate, and there's no clear offensive midfielders or forwards there in the national team, which kind of makes the the competition, the situation around competing with other players very, very good. But also, it doesn't really affect us much as a national team when people have to pause due to injuries. So there's more than enough options. And my main concern for the national team again remains more of the back row, the left back and the right back, where we have the biggest to-dos. And for whatever reason, the unstable defense, even though you have world-class defenders in there, that's something they have to figure out. But again, up top, we're having more than enough talent.
Yeah. And one more is actually joining. Let's talk a little bit about the newest addition to the front row, a young forward, really one to watch, Johnny Burkhardt from Mainz. Already standing at 5 goals in 6 games in this current Bundesliga season. Actually, his coach Henriksen has very much advocated for him to get a chance to get nominated for the national team, and now Nagelsmann brought him along for the first time. Any opinions on him? Have you seen him play?
Yeah, I followed Johnny Burkhardt a little bit. He got injured last season at one point, had a couple of terrible injuries at very young age. He's just 24 at this point. But I have had him on the radar already 2 years ago. Some experts were calling for his nomination in the national team, and that was right around the period where also Niklas Füllkrug was discussed for the first time. So this is when he came on my radar. But then again, he had that long injury, and I'm glad that he is back and so strong. But he's not that Füllkrug type of box forward. He is more a Kai Havertz type. He's more a Undav type than a Füllkrug, right? So the one-on-one replacement for Füllkrug again in this squad would be Tim Kleindienst. Johnny Burkhardt is more the playing forward, how to describe it sometimes as well. That comes more from the back row into the box, and is not constantly there in the box. Like a Niklas Füllkrug.
Yeah, well, let's hope he's going to get some minutes. I'm very keen to see what he can bring to the national team. But before we move on, let's talk about one last position. I know this is your favorite position in the team, is obviously the goalie. We've talked a lot about who is going to replace Marc-André ter Stegen. Will he be replaced maybe even long term after his very heavy injury a couple of weeks ago? We kind of concluded that the race for the number one is very much open between Stuttgart's Nübel and Baumann from Hoffenheim,
who played against each other on the weekend. No?
Exactly. Yeah. Let's see how that goes. Well, we kind of that already took place, right? 1-1.
Yeah,
so
they had a little bit of a chatter there after the game, and looked like they have a good relationship. But yeah, the race is open.
Yeah, and nevertheless, Nagelsmann came up with another surprise. He nominated for this Nations League lineup Janis Blaswich, which is, he played in the Bundesliga for Leipzig for a number of seasons. Last year, he actually left the Bundesliga and joined the Austrian champion Red Bull Salzburg, which is, to me, a very much a surprising appointment. Of course, driven by a lot of injuries. We mentioned ter Stegen, Trapp is also injured. But he's actually also replacing Bernd Leno, who's playing for Fulham in the Premier League. He actually was called up to the national team, but decided to stay in England after he was told that he would not get any play time. So he refused the invite by Julian Nagelsmann. I saw today that Joshua Kimmich already kind of criticized this type of behavior. Not sure. What do you think about it? About Leno's reaction not to show up to the team. B, who is Blaswich? What is he going to bring to the team? And last but not least, my question is, why not take one of the under 21 goalies, like, for example, a Noah Atubolo from Freiburg, who is performing a great season, or even a younger one from Bundesliga 2. We have a couple of great talents there. Just to name one of them would be Jonas Urbik, who I have from Cologne, who I have on the radar for the next seasons.
Right. Yeah, that's a bunch of questions regarding a complex topic, but yeah, I'll pick it apart a little bit. I think to your last question first, Noah Atubolo, Freiburg, great talent, I agree, but I mean, you can see him every week in the Bundesliga, and to be honest, between last season and this season, he just has too many mistakes in there still. So you got to give him a couple of more years to stabilize in the Bundesliga. And then, he might be a candidate for that spot, but I don't think he's ready. He might be even a long-term number one, but again, he's not ready. Jonas Urbik, it's really his first season for Cologne. He is the best goalie in Bundesliga 2 right now, but he is, that's exactly the problem. He is playing in Bundesliga 2. It's his first season, so it's just too early. That's what you usually don't do. as a national coach. I think there was one exception. Wasn't when Lukas Podolski played in the second Bundesliga. He was still nominated for the national team, if I recall it right. So that might be one of the few exceptions that I could even think, off the top of my head, where that ever happened. So that is ruled out. And then we go to Bernd Leno, which again usually goes, if you're called to the national team, then that should be the biggest honor for you as a sportsman, and you should definitely show up and play for your country. But Leno is also now a seasoned goalie, and I do understand that he was falling out of the squad when Nagelsmann first nominated. Actually, if you recall it, one of the first national team nomination periods, Nagelsmann actually nominated Blaswig and left Leno at home. He did the same with Rapp, by the way. So I can understand Leno. He never played a big role since Nagelsmann is the coach of Germany. And his expectation is just, if he comes in with his experience of playing in the Premier League so often, that he would be the number one in this scenario. So, I would more see it as a decision to end the career in the national team, and you have to respect it at the end of the day that the seasoned goalie says, no, I'm not interested in it. Going back to Nübel and Baumann, I think Baumann will get the first game if I read it right. That's what Nagelsmann already said. I gave you also my position on who should be the clear replacement. I believe it should be Nübel. Nübel is also playing Champions League, which is, again, a little bit of a different level. But he hasn't, to be fully honest, he hasn't been as consistent in the season as Baumann has been. So if you go for consistency, then Baumann is probably the right pick for this first game.
Also the more experienced goalie overall, a couple of years older.
What I don't like as a goalie is that all the experts that I heard on this topic, they're kind of brushing it off and say, it's just the goalie position. We have more than enough good goalies in Germany. I still think it's a difference if you have with all due respect, if you have a Nübel or a Baumann in the goal, or if there's a Ter Stegen or a Manuel Neuer behind you that are really, world-class goalies that can become world goalie season after season for their performances.
True that. Well, let's see how it goes. Very interesting. A lot of dynamics in the team overall. And let's see what Nagelsmann is going to do leading up to the next tournament. He keeps delivering surprise after surprise. All right.
Yeah, he is definitely Rick, not shy.
Indeed, yeah. Not shy to try out new things. All right, Rick, what do you think? Should we move into our regular categories?
Absolutely. I think it's time. Here's Unmatched Moments. Unmatched Moments of the Beautiful Game. Yeah, and I'm going to start this out this week with my unmatched moment, which is Germany honoring Juergen Klopp. Yeah, you heard right. Juergen Klopp, the former coach of Liverpool FC and Dortmund, Mainz, receives the Federal Order of Merit for positive contribution of the German image in Great Britain during his time as the coach of Liverpool FC. And just a few days later, he also received the Order of Merit of the Federal State of Baden-Württemberg in Stuttgart, where he's originally from. So yeah, great honor for Jürgen Klopp, and I don't think he knew, in the beginning, why he was nominated for that, or why specifically he is going to receive it. But I think it's well deserved at the end. It's just his charisma, the passion for the game, the genuine personality, that makes him so approachable and loved by fans, no matter in which country. And if you go through Liverpool today, you see that in some documentaries that were done on Klopp's time as a coach in Liverpool FC. There's graffitis, paintings all over the city showing his face. He became somewhat the father of the city there, and that's really a big achievement as a German on the island there. So then of course his football philosophy plays in there, the high energy pressing and attacking play, the style, that led him to this remarkable success with Liverpool, winning the Premier League, but also winning the Champions League and many finals that they made on top of that. So again, the humility and the humor that he has, it's just a great person, Jurgen Klopp, and we as Germans can only hope that one day he will be our national coach when he decides to go out of retirement and Nagelsmann wants to move on to club soccer again. So yeah, that to Jurgen Klopp, and I think it was just the right decision to honor him for that. Any thoughts on that, Alex?
Yeah, well, look, couldn't agree more. Congratulations, Jürgen. What a guy, seriously. And you already explained a little bit about the role he plays, or probably still plays, for the people in Liverpool, where he, of course, celebrated most of his successes. But even prior to that, he kind of is the type of football manager who was able to transform all of the clubs he worked at, starting off with Mainz, where he kind of ended his career as a mediocre football player. To be honest, he was never a great footballer. Became their coach just, a year pretty much after his retirement. I think he retired due to an injury, and became their long-term coach. And he transformed his first club. He implemented his philosophy there, shaped his style of how he wants his team to play football, and really brought all the people in Mainz behind them. And whether you liked his style at the time or not, it doesn't matter. From there, he just kept, growing bigger and bigger. And then he went on to Dortmund and he transformed the club there. When he took over, they didn't play a very big role in the Bundesliga nor anywhere at the European stage. And he led them to back-to-back championships. He led him to his first Champions League final in Wembley in 2013, and then the rest is history. After he made his move to Liverpool, it's just unbelievable guy. I really hope that one day we will see him in charge of the national team, as you said. So congrats again, Jürgen. It's good. It's good to have you. All right, then I would like to share my unmatched moment of the week. It's nowhere near. It's nowhere near as incredible as Jürgen Klopp's career. In fact, my unmatched moment looks more like a scene from a comedy movie. In fact, it's a fairly bizarre scene that occurred in the second Bundesliga game between Magdeburg and Fürth. As we said in the beginning, Magdeburg managed to secure a tie. They're up there at on top of the table together with Düsseldorf. So it's not a bad team at all. But there were just two absolute bizarre scenes happening during that game that both led to handball penalties, in fact, one of each side. And the absurd thing is that in both instances, a defender actually picked up the ball with both hands, thinking that the referee had interrupted the game. But since that wasn't the case, all the referee really could do is award a penalty for the attacking team. And in both situations, there was absolutely no pressure on the defender. They just got confused. And it's just so funny that this situation happens on each end, on both sides, for both teams. And just a very obscure situation. You would typically, this is the sort of stuff that you find on social media and some, failure reels, but it actually happened this past weekend in real life. Very
I think
funny.
we should dig one of these out again and share with our audience on social media, so you can take a look at that. But certainly unmatched in a professional soccer game. So that is something that you know,
You don't
not
see
going to
it.
be seen in many years to come.
Exactly.
Okay, and with that, Alex, I think we should move on to fantastic takeaways and take a look what happened on the stands this week.
Let's do it.
Fantastic takeaways, highlights from the stands. Yeah, I picked the St. Pauli game, or the St. Pauli supporters this week, as my fantastic takeaway. In our pre-discussion, Alex, we were both kind of agreeing that there wasn't really much happening from a fan perspective, but still, I think it's worth to mention St. Pauli and their home game against Mainz. It's just very nice to see a Saturday night game, with the floodlights on at the Millantor Stadium. It is a special atmosphere, and as St. Pauli usually plays in the Bundesliga too, it was great to see that back in Germany's top flight for so many years. I love it when the players march into the stadium on the AC/DC Hell's Bells. It's always a great intro. We had a small choreography in that game as well. It's more of a side note because it was not, incredibly special or anything. But what was definitely special was the atmosphere. Despite St. Pauli's 0-3 loss, you had applause for great performance of the opposite players. Of Mainz, Johnny Burkhardt got applauded when he left the field for his 2 goals and his great, just great performance there. So that's very unique. Yeah, and then just cheering on the team, after the match and kind of telling them, we're going to be there for you. Just go on and do your best to somehow stay in Bundesliga 1 this year. So that's certainly a great way to approach it. And you just see the happiness of the fans there about even performing in a top flight this year. And they're just going to take the season as a party, and cheer on. So that was great to see.
Yeah, definitely. They should just enjoy. I still believe it's going to be their only year in the first Bundesliga, but who knows? I mean, the other teams down there are not exactly doing so well. I believe St. Pauli has 3 points in the bag so far, which is better than nothing.
You got Bochum with 1.
Yeah, Bochum is worse than that. So let's see. Who knows? Maybe they can pick up the pace in the latter half of the season. But nevertheless, a very special place, the Millantor Stadium. Very special club, of course, St. Pauli. Everybody knows the brand in a way. So yeah, good stuff. Yeah, moving on with my top pick of this week. I actually picked the derby in Lower Saxony between Eintracht Braunschweig and Hannover 96. Not so much from a fantastic takeaway type of perspective, because in fact both teams decided to boycott the game, given that due to past riots and previous fixtures between the two clubs, the capacity for the traveling fans from Hanover who were wanting to come to Braunschweig to attend the game was actually reduced by, I believe, almost half. So the Hanover fans, in the face of that decision, actually decided, you know what, we're just not going to attend the game at all under these circumstances. And the Braunschweig supporters, kind of in solidarity, even despite their rivalry, they sort of stand in solidarity and also decided to not support actively during the match. So it was very much like a graveyard atmosphere. Braunschweig won the game, but apparently the stadium was not even sold out, which is very obscure, given the magnitude of this game. Instead of the performance during the match in the stadium, the supporters of both teams actually attended the last practice sessions before the big match, to send off the team, get some, motivation across, and just show the players once again how important this derby is for the fans. Braunschweig attended with well over 1,000 fans. Hannover even pulled together 4,000 people. So the club had to move the final practice session to the Niedersachsen stadium because the regular training ground would have been too small otherwise. So yeah, very interesting. In fact, despite all of these restrictions for traveling fans, there was still a bit of a confrontation happening outside the stadium between Braunschweig and Hannover fans after the game. So it was almost a bit ironic that, everyone is talking about safety and security, but then the action still happens somewhere outside. In my view, if you're really concerned about safety in the stadium, then in my opinion, it's the best to actually keep the fans or have the fans inside the stadium, because there you have some sort of surveillance technology. You can locate them in their respective sections. So instead of kind of locking them out, just let them in. That's still, in my view, the safest thing to do.
Yeah, the concept of not letting people into the stadium never really worked out. I agree with you. On the other hand, I think this was driven by an insane pyro and fireworks show during one of the last matchups between those two teams. So, at one point it will have consequences. Is it a right consequence? And as you said, then it's still going to happen around the stadium. So we have to find other ways to deal with those type of situations. And I just hope that fans, police, and league association can sit together again and find solutions around these topics, especially when it comes to fireworks in the stadium. I think the active fans also have showed that they can handle pyros and fireworks correct and somewhat safe in the stadiums, that there's no random things thrown on the field, etc., or some of these fireworks shot into the rinks where people are sitting. So it's time to really have a sit down and find a solution. How can that be legalized, and how can that be implemented in a way that we don't run into similar situations anymore?
Yeah, that would be nice. Wishful thinking, in my view, but
yeah,
let's not give up the hope.
Certainly something that we could discuss in Clubal Trouble again. I'm pretty sure at one point we will discuss stuff like that in Clubal Trouble again. But for now, let's see what we have on the radar here for this week.
Clubal Trouble. Painful to watch.
Yeah, and I'm going to continue right away here. We had lots of options in this category piling up this week again. Bochum lost again. We mentioned it already. They stand at the bottom of the table in Bundesliga 1 right now with only 1 point. But they seem to stay calm. No coaching changes announced yet. They know in what situation they're in. They know they're going to fight for relegation until the last game day. So I guess they're going to hold on to the coach for now. In Gladbach, the coach, Seoane, just got a breather the week before. This week he lost again in Augsburg on Friday night with probably the worst performance of the season. But also here, the club is still staying calm. I don't think he's going to have a lot more chances. And in my opinion, Kloppo should react, because with a different coach, I think you can get more out of the team. But obviously, we're just discussing in this category what's happening or what's not happening. And what's not happening right now is that Gladbach is firing the coach, Seoane. We'll see another match 2 weeks from now. What I actually picked for this week, for my personal Clubal Trouble, is often discussed Club Kaiserslautern, because they lost the game against Elversberg. We kind of said after the game against Hamburg, that 2-2 at home, we said, okay, now Kaiserslautern played against a bunch of top clubs, by name top clubs in Bundesliga 2, and they're going to have 2 matches ahead of them where they need to show some results, and that will determine where the season will go. Well, what followed after this, Alex, is a 0-0 in Regensburg, who is still at the end of the table in Bundesliga 2 with 4 points, and I think only 1 goal scored so far and 18 conceded. So Kaiserslautern didn't manage to pull away a win from there. and then they went to Elversberg this week, or this past weekend, and ended up losing 1-0 after they dominated the first half again, but didn't score. And then they come in out of the halftime and just perform a horrible second half, where at the end of the day, you have to say Elversberg took that 1-0 win away very well deserved. And the fans in Kaiserslautern are going nuts right now. You heard the whistles after the game, and they showed the team that they're really upset, and that this is not the direction that they expect the team to head. They don't want to have another season like last year. They just want to be somewhere in the midfield safe. But if you want to be safe, then you got to win a game in Regensburg, or you got to take away points away from Elversberg. So that's a clubal trouble case for me, Alex. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, look, I agree. Out of those last two games, they should have at least collected 4 points. These are actually the big points that you need to collect during the season. Wins over Hamburg, Düsseldorf, and those type of, big clubs. That's kind of the cherry on the cake. But you need to get the groundwork right, and they're somehow not capable of doing that. And in 2 weeks from now, Paderborn is coming to Kaiserslautern. They are actually also doing really well at the moment, competing, for one of the first 3 or 4 spots on the table. And Kaiserslautern has never played well against Paderborn, so I'm already sort of expecting another very dire performance there. So totally agree. Clearly, a big old clubal trouble on the way here at the Betzenberg.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. But anyways, let's look over the schedule ballers real quick here as we head into another week of Nations League games, and then also a little forecast about the Bundesliga and Bundesliga 2 next the weekend after. So let's take a look at that.
Schedule ballers. What's kicking next?
Yeah, of course, folks. Nations League break is coming up. We're, of course, going to watch the games of Germany against Bosnia on Friday, and then the Germany game at home against the Netherlands on Monday, which will be the rematch, right? We just had that matchup in Rotterdam not too long ago. And that's going to take place on Monday, October 14th. The DFB, the German Football Association, will also honor the last 3 world champions from 2014 in the stadium. So that's going to be nice. Müller, Kroos, and who else? Müller, Kroos?
Neuer.
Who am I missing? Neuer, of course. Neuer. I'm making the last appearance there and getting some flowers and probably some jerseys. And then the Bundesliga continues the weekend after, of course, with a great matchup between Bayern and Stuttgart, another top match to look forward to on Saturday night. And I actually might watch that in my favorite German deli this time, Alex, that I haven't been this season. It's the Bayern Munich, the local Bayern Munich fan club that is ruling that German deli. So sometimes it's interesting to watch these games with some Bazis, especially if Bayern has the chance to lose that. So that's my plan. What do you have on the radar?
Yeah, good stuff, Rick. For Bundesliga 1, in fact, at least as far as the table is concerned, the top game of the match day is actually Leverkusen-Frankfurt, in my opinion. We talked earlier a little bit about the situation there on top of the table, so this match is really a crucial opportunity for Leverkusen to catch up with Bayern, Leipzig, and Frankfurt. On the other end of the table, we have a really proper relegation fight happening. Hoffenheim, currently in 16th with 4 points, will face Bochum, 18th, so last spot on the table with only 1 point so far. And so this is going to be an exciting one, and it might as well be the last game for either one of the two managers, either Matarazzo for Hoffenheim or Zeidler. I could well imagine whoever loses that game is going to be out of the job.
I feel like we've been saying that every week, so At one point, it's going to happen. GFC
at
fans. At one
it's
point,
going to happen. Yeah.
Yeah.
But aside from that, there are also a few really good fixtures coming up in Bundesliga 2. We have the Franken Derby between Nuremberg and the neighboring city Fürth, two clubs that are very, very close together in terms of distance. And of course, it's a big thing. It's kind of the regional, the big regional derby there. Aside from that, we have Magdeburg and Hamburg directly competing for a spot on top of the table. In case Düsseldorf does not win their away game in Regensburg, either Magdeburg or Hamburg might be, leading up the table in 2 weeks from now. And there are also a couple of interesting games in Bundesliga 3. In case you're interested, we have another regional derby there between Bielefeld and Osnabrück. We have the small Munich derby, so to speak, Unterhaching versus TSV Munich 1860. Again, it's not quite the same flavor as the big games between TSV and Bayern. But nonetheless, the match kind of decides who's going to be the number one team in Munich, at least in Bundesliga 3. And a couple of other games involving teams with long history and tradition there in Bundesliga 3. Rostock-Aachen is an interesting one. Dresden-Essen, also very interesting. And then as well a little bit the match day opener on Friday between Waldhof Mannheim and Erzgebirge Aue. So, a lot of games to watch.
Yeah.
Might not watch all of them.
Probably not. Especially if it goes down into the deeper league, as much as I love these matchup between those teams again. But some of them I will just stick to highlights or, the channels to look at the results.
It's an attractive Bundesliga 3, at least. That's the
absolutely. Yeah, thank you for that, Alex, for that level of detail as well. You see, guys, there's so much happening week after week, and we hope you enjoyed this great episode again. It was a lot of fun to me, and I hope to you as well, Alex, as usual. So, that took a little while. No, kidding, guys. We have to wrap it up here. We'll be back next week, probably with another special since we have not much Bundesliga action. But until then, and as usual, please make sure you like us, comment on our episodes, share your feedback with us, and recommend us to others so we can grow our followership. Thank you very much for tuning in again. We'll see you next week.
Take care, guys.
Bye-bye.